and Michela.
I am now in the path of oncoming beauty.
I'm glad that I was just going to say I'm just really I've been kind of been waiting for a while to see like, oh, I wonder when she's going to realize this.
And then put words to it.
Amy and I and Kara the other day were talking about we want to put together some swag or maybe some T-shirts or something, and I said I want mine that just says "You're in the path of oncoming beauty." Get out of my way.
Or remember the shirts that said, I don't know why I bring this up all the time.
Yeah.
That said, I'm with stupid, and then it had an arrow that pointed to your left or your right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the path of oncoming beauty, and Peps would just point up, like to himself.
No, I think it should be. I think Kurt should have one that says, "I'm with the most beautiful man in the world," and I have one that says, "I'm with Dr. Desire," and Amy should have one that says, "I'm with these two bozos."
We have a lot of T-shirts to make.
We do. Better get busy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the wrap of season 7. Okay, so on July 24th, I love anniversaries. That'll be 3 years since we had our practice recording.
Yes.
3 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
I think
stunning.
I told you. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Feels like 10 to me.
10 years. Yeah.
It's like 10 years.
Yeah. So, Amy, I don't know if you want to give a reflection or I have a question that I'd like to ask. I don't know how.
Yeah, let's go with your question.
Yeah. Okay. So, how did you join a confessional community? And I would love to hear from you an experience that you had in a confessional community.
Speaking of confidentiality, I'm kidding. It's my experience.
It's your experience. It's not. Yeah. So I'm asking you, Amy.
How I joined one, I was looking for a group experience, and so I asked a friend who was in the confessional community if she knew of a facilitator or a group that was going on, and she did. Thank goodness. So that's how I just asked around.
Yeah.
Okay, an experience. I've been in it for almost 6 years, so it's like, okay, think of one experience. I think one of the most, I cannot say enough about this group and the work that's done. Okay, so what we grew up with or what we were taught, we continue on. I continue on unless I come to a point where like, that is not serving me very well. And so I'm going to share a belief or something that I learned and then and I discovered this in the confessional community. But like if I was, as a kid, if I was angry or annoyed or frustrated and I let it be known, I was punished. And the punishment was emotional detachment, which I would have, I don't know. That was devastating to me. So as a result, I would not share with someone if I was angry because I anticipated emotional detachment. Mm-hmm. And some would say as a kid, that was a good thing that I didn't share it because I didn't have any other tools. But as an adult, it's limiting. It's limited. Limiting. That's a good word.
It's a new word. We're just going to start to use it. That's limiting.
Right.
We are.
Right. You float when you experience
It's
limiting.
That's right.
So in confessional community, our job is to put words to our thoughts and feelings. So if I got Sarah, who I've been in group with for 6 years, and so I get connected. The group gets connected to each other. So when I was angry or frustrated, I would get anxious because it would just wash over me because I'm thinking, I'm experiencing this right now and I should be putting words to it. And so we would start at a very, like Kurt, you've said before, what would it mean if you talked about it? You don't even have to talk about the it. Mm-hmm. but I would talk about my anxiety. So then, so two things would happen. Sarah didn't go away. Now, she could have gone away, but she was interested. She was curious about why I was angry with her. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Yes.
So that was happening. But then also the facilitator, I got angry with a lot of people, which, so she would say, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can be angry. So the facilitator said, Amy, anytime you are angry or frustrated or annoyed with me, I want to hear about it. Every time. Every time. I welcome that. I feel more connected to you. So that was new language. I'm like, wait till I do it. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
When I do it, it's going to be a different story.
It's bait and switch.
Bait and switch, which did not happen. And then Sarah, who was a fellow in the group, we worked. She didn't go anywhere. But even if it wasn't super curious about my anger, I learned that I could tolerate anybody's response. So it wasn't that I had to have this overwhelmingly welcoming to my anger. Like they didn't have to welcome my anger. I could tolerate anyone's response. So that's a group experience.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. And that can't, where else is that going to happen?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
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 Right. I mean, and I love how you, love, not that it happened to you, but like I love how you described, you get anxious.
Right.
Because you're working so hard to contain what you're really experiencing.
Right.
And what happens to so many of us is that like we're doing that all the time, and then we're anxious, and we think that our anxiety, like, why am I anxious? And my anxiety, like, I shouldn't be anxious. I don't like my anxiety. So I see then even my body's response to try to get my attention to the fact that I'm angry as a problem, and so I try to get rid of that as well.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I imagine it took you some work, Amy, even to realize that emotional detachment was happening. And you know what I mean? Like to understand what that was. You don't just
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not aware as a 6-year-old.
And that happens in the group too. Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times the facilitator will say, okay, let's slow down. And some people in the group don't like that. They're like, but when you slow down, it's like, then it gives everyone an opportunity to respond. But it also, then you see stuff, you see, okay, I didn't realize I was afraid of emotional detachment. I just knew that when I was mad, I went away. Then someone would say, Amy, where'd you go? Because you haven't talked in 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh my gosh. I'm not going to tell you where I went.
That would be, I wouldn't know what that experience would be like here.
Right. If you hadn't talked in 10 minutes.
To have you not talk. I mean, I don't know that I don't know that would be a problem here, but I mean, I would.
Yeah. I'd be breaking glass on the pads and, charging you with them because I'm
like breaking the pen. Now I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Very funny, guys.
So someone wants to know if we have our own confession sessions outside of the podcast, the three of us.
Oh, the three of us?
Yeah.
Why, yes, we do.
Well, before we do that, like we do. I mean, but I just want to say that even before we got on this recording, like I had stuff going on.
Yeah.
Right. This is what the question is. Do we do that? What you're about ready to
do
talk
we do
about?
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, among the three of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yes.
mean, I had stuff going on internally for me that has been this week just driving me around the bend, and I do have a group of guys that I meet with every Tuesday morning that are usually. Because people have been out of town, summer. I haven't met with these guys now for 3 weeks. I mean, it's like not having enough fluid in your system. Like you don't go for a day, let alone several days, without drinking fluid. Like you got to be hydrated, and that's what it feels like. And I could not wait to get to this morning in order to be able to name these things. Because I am my worst enemy in my head, And it's just such a, man, it's like coming home. I mean, to a home that you want to come home to.
Yeah.
Not all.
Home of your
I realize
choosing.
for some of us that wouldn't be a thing you would want to do, but like it's
Right.
it's the thing that I would want to do. And so to have you in my heart, in my mind, like it just I'm in a completely different place than I was an hour and a half ago.
And I've experienced that with you guys so many times. I mean, come in with something and feeling a certain way, and after that time that we have together, and we purposely block out extra time on these days that we're recording so that we can start with that, because that's to me, I don't want to say that's just it's equally as important, if not more important, than the time that we spend actually recording.
Yeah. Well, and I'll just want to add this one extra detail for this morning, what it was like, because part of what I shared, but I mean, not part of what I shared. What I shared, there was a part of me that was worried. So I didn't come here to talk about this thing that had happened to me outside of here. Like, it had, and so I didn't just need a place where you guys could hear me and empathize with me about things that had happened to me outside of here. Like, there was a part of me that was afraid to tell you.
Yeah.
Because of what because I'm afraid, not just about me, but like how what I'm telling you is going to affect us, is going to change, is going to, because I like, and so it's. I mean, this is the thing. This example of how these confessional communities are not just about for us to come and talk about the problems that exist outside that community. Like, the community becomes the place where those relationships, like, are the relationships with which I have to work things out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think, like, as you say that, Kurt, I think, so there is fear and trepidation that comes up for the three of us. It's not like, oh, we know how to do this. It's easy.
Totally.
Right.
It is work. It is challenging at times.
Yeah. Well, we just reminded, for our listeners, I was at Hope Heals Camp last week, and my role was as the pastor for the volunteers, and for the week we sat in the 11th chapter of John. And many, we would say, oh, this is the story about Lazarus dying, and Jesus, raises him from the dead. And we say, what's interesting is that the main character, Lazarus, has no lines whatsoever in the entire thing. Like, he doesn't say a single, because as it turns out, even though we think that it's about him, the story actually is about Mary, Martha, and the disciples, and Jesus. That's what the story, and the other neighbors who were all, that's what the story is about. And if you're Lazarus, you're like, oh, I die, and then you raise me from the dead, and now I get to do this all over again at some point? Like, this is like, he didn't ask for this.
Right.
And so I think there is a, it is a reminder to me that I am Jesus is continually coming to find parts of me that he's raising from the dead, and he's going to come find me again and find me again, because like, I don't get to a point where I'm like, oh, okay, now I have this. I'm never going to be afraid again to say anything else here in our community. We're having to work at things, because he's coming for all the parts that are not yet healed and still need to be.
Right.
He's never not.
Coming, not.
He's never
coming.
not
He is coming, not.
He's never not.
No, he's never not coming
two
for us.
Nots.
He's never not coming
two
for
knots.
us. Never not.
Never not.
That's a never not is
See,
a double negative in itself.
That's limiting.
Well, it means he's always. It's another way to say
Yes.
he's always coming for us.
Yeah. Or we could just say
He's never not.
he's always coming for us.
Yeah.
Cut to the chase.
That's not nearly as fun.
It isn't. Hey guys, this was great. Thanks for this, all your work this season, and I hope people have found this really helpful. And we want to encourage people to go to the cbk.org and see about learning more about confessional communities. and New Behavioral Health as well.
New Story Behavioral Health.
New Story Behavioral Health as well.
Yep.
And that's a second mistake. I made one in 78. And then
today,
this one, I left
today?
the word story out. Right. I'm going to
July
have to
21st.
mark this down.
What? Wow.
Listen, that's wounding. New Story Behavioral Health. They have some things coming up that Kurt talked about in the episode. Check those out, and we'll see you all in October. And before then, we'll be back with our next season.
Right on.
Yep.
Love you
Thanks,
guys.
Love you.
Love you.